Yo, K-Kunnnn here. Today we are going to have a discussion about version 1.1. Was it good? Was it mid? Or was it bad? So, let's get started. So the first thing you'll do in a new patch is either do your dailies, pull for a character, or do the new story quest. So let's head into the new characters first, after that the story, and then the new side quest stuff, and the events that they've given us to play around with, and then the new game modes. The first banner character is Qingyi, an electric stunner who is one of the most versatile unit and the character who's going to break a lot of people's index fingers. So why is she so versatile? It's because of her additional ability, making her a staple for any traditional crit DPS, or just anyone with the attacker role or someone in the same faction, adding a 20% increased days to her basic attacks to stun the enemies faster. And her kit is really easy to play. Just spam basic attack until it reaches flash voltage for her AoE basic attacks that do her electric bonk attacks to the enemies, and stacking up flash connect voltage to at least 75% to do her enchanted moonlit blossoms to apply subjugation stacks onto the enemies, increasing the damage multiplier you do when the enemies are stunned. If you build her right, not only are you increasing the damage of your team when the enemies are stunned, you could also do some big PP damage with her if you have the right disc drives with the usual crit rate and crit damage substats and main stats. Overall, Qingyi is one of the best stunner in the game right now, and with her kit offering an easy gameplay of just spamming your attack button or left clicking, I might probably get her on her rerun, depending on if I have like the right amount of polychromes at that time. Now on to our femme fatale, who in gacha terms filtered out the tourist in the community with her character demo trailer, Jane Doe. She introduced a new way to deal damage without relying on the traditional crit and crit damage substat grind, and I think the developers implementing this way to deal damage this early on in the game sets up more variety to play the game and give us more team building opportunities that can be played in a lot of casual content and endgame contents. And maybe this is too early to say, but she's absurdly broken because compared to my insanely built Ellen Jo, she clears my Holo Zero way faster than her. I didn't even level up her skills up until recently, maybe because I have like M1, but I feel like her actual game-changing like Mindscape is M2 for free-to-play dolphins or whales, just because of the 15% def ignore. And in any Hoyoverse game, anything that has def ignore in their kit is bound to be broken if their kit is actually decent. I'm looking at you, Lisa. This Genshin could never steal a relevant joke. So Jane's kit is pretty heavily reliant on her core passive, which basically makes the Assault Anomaly crit, which can go for wild damage numbers if you just stack up a lot of Anomaly proficiency on Jane. And plus, she is pretty easy to build. You don't have to heavily invest on her skills early on because I'm going to quote Iwintolose here. It will be roughly around 6%-ish increase of her damage to her kit, and if you level up her skill from 10 to 11 or 12, it is a 1.7% damage increase. So all you need to do if you're low on resources, just upgrade her levels, core passive, Wenjin, and disc drives to make her work. Plus, she's the first S-rank anomaly character that I personally tried soloing everything just because she just procs assault so quickly, and the damage is giving me withdrawals when I go back to my Ellen. Consistent damage numbers aren't the same as one big PP damage per screenshot. Now let's move on to her partner in crime / boyfriend / talk no jutsu out of any sticky situation / her meta team support at this time of recording, Seth. So this catboy is going to be one of the best supports for any anomaly team right now, because of the way his core passive works, giving a shield to any ally you quick assist on, and the most important one is giving out anomaly proficiency to that said ally you quick assist onto, while his additional ability brings down the enemy's anomaly rest buildup by 20% if you do his hold basic attack or do your chain attack with him, which just makes him a solid option when you're running an anomaly team comp. And if you get his M1 and M4, he will be able to immediately decrease the enemy's anomaly rest with M1 since his resolve bar is already full when you're in battle, and the lingering effect of 10 seconds when your shield is broken is a nice touch. while his M4 makes his parry days even more. So a full-blown support set having his 4th, 5th, and 6th drives just attack makes your shield hella beefy. And to make things clear, his shield scales off with initial attack, which just basically means out of combat stats, which just means stats from your disc drives, Wenjin stats, 2-piece bonuses, and not the 4-piece bonuses, because most of them you have to proc it while in combat, which is in combat stats, which just means you get buffs activated in combat like your 4-piece bonuses, Lucy's cheer on buff, and Sokaku's buff. If you're a casual and using him just to provide Jane buffs and utility, essentially making him a quick swap character, which is all good. Personally, I think that's pretty much his function, and I'm personally building him as like a disorder-ish build with the anomaly set. Anomaly set. I'm not funny. And having my slot 5 and 6 as anomaly proficiency and anomaly mastery. So the only problem with Seth is that his animations are hella long in attacking enemies with his charge attack, and his chain attack is also kinda long. The only way to alleviate this problem is to make him a quick swap parry machine and occasionally hold basic attacking for that anomaly build up res down. A content creator named Blaze did the whole video breaking it down, so give it a watch if you want more info about Seth. Overall, the characters we got this patch is just hella strong, giving them a tier 0 in Pride Wins tier list, except Seth, which is, yeah, I kinda agree with that. Now moving on to the story, which is called Undercover R&B, which is just a side story. But it's not just any side story, but the first story that did not include any TVs whatsoever, because Feyhunt, aka our MCs, was not involved in this case. Which just makes me wonder if they're going to continue this type of storytelling and gameplay, because in my opinion, it is a lot more immersive and it got me hooked onto the characters like Seth and Jane. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel if you're hooked onto the video. Thank you. So the introduction to Seth and Jane, and I want to talk about Jane in a bit since she's the poster girl of the story. So I love how they humanized Jane in this story. My first impression was obviously hot mommy dummy mommy, who's probably going to be the perfect femme fatale that's expert at manipulating and getting her way around people, which is true. But there are also elements where we read her inner monologues of that she feels anxious if the plan is not going where she wants to go, so she has to adapt to the situation. She feels empathy towards a gang member who wants to turn a new leaf. Subtle things like that made me appreciate that she's not this cunning, sly, slippery rat that you may think she's 10 steps ahead of you. Nah, she's just making bullshit along the way, making faces so that the anxiety and fear don't show on her face. And we get to see this mask fall off when we reach her max trust, where she's hella tired, we helped her out, and the one place she found comfort was random play, which was pretty wholesome. And then the morning starts, she made us breakfast, building up this nutritious meal when in reality it was just freaking instant ramen. I facepalmed, but I like how they humanized Jane in this aspect, and thanks to a content creator named Feyhunt for explaining this way better than me. Check out the video. So let's move on to the world building part, because we get to see some of the pub sex operations and some nasty gangs in New Eridu, and it gave us an important detail that Azrial Vanity mentioned, that fissures, these portals that teleport you to random places which can change every single time you enter. That is if you don't have a proxy to guide you, then you're safe. But this side story showed an important situation where the Mountain Lion Gang has a controlled / stable fissure / portal where they can just go in and out safely to a safe location, which is a detail that might be used in the future stories as long as the writers don't forget to use this tidbit of information in the story. But gonna be honest, I think the majority of the player base spent at least an hour or more just staring at Jane's massive assets, because I was one of those players as well. But talking about the length of the story, it was around 1 to 2 hours if you weren't just messing around, which if you compare it to character quests in Genshin, it's almost the same length, but the difference is with Genshin and ZZZ is that ZZZ has more ways to present the story, the usual comic strips, the usual monologues, the side-by-side conversations of the characters, and a bunch of cinematic cutscenes. And the prologue of the story doesn't take ages to ramp up. So I like the presentation and pacing of the story, where compared to Genshin, it's mostly telling rather than just showing. I like the side story. I hope they use this in the main story as well, so I pray for fewer TVs and more unique ways to present the story. With this patch, we got a lot of combat commissions instead of TB explorations. I've completed most of them. If I missed anything, it is what it is, but yeah, I like it. The only thing I can see is maybe if they keep doing this, it might get stale if we just keep getting back-to-back combat, and plus, if your characters aren't leveled up, this can lead to frustrations. Especially if you were going in blind and did like opposing the Hollow 2, your ass is gonna get slapped by Shadow Jane though. That fight actually made me lock in. It was a pretty good challenge. But yeah, I think the devs just needs to find the right balance between combat and exploration commissions. I don't know what that balance is, but the devs probably have all the like player data and statistics, so I guess just let them cook. So we are moving on to the events. The first one we get was the first class customer service. It was a fun rhythm game. It was pretty much straightforward. It was just time the button presses until it hit the circle, and you get different variations of beats from red fast and blue slow, which keeps you on your toes a little bit. Though tinfoil hat time. Maybe they're going to use this as a test to make a character someday where you have to time each presses to do more damage. We have like Soldier 11 and Ambi with her third basic attack, but maybe someday we will have a character whose whole gimmick is timing everything perfectly to do more damage. I'm basing this off from Genshin, where they had this camera hold feature in an event, and then they used that said mechanic for an OP character named Nahida. But obviously this is a Hoyoverse game, so they will not make it that hard to time your presses perfectly, so the event is alright, nothing special. Next up is the Camellia Golden Week event. So this is probably one of the best ZZZ event. Well, we don't have anything to compare it to, so it just sets a nice standards to compare for the upcoming events in the future. So this event, in my opinion, just utilizes the TV system really nicely because of the fun minigames we've gotten inside the TV and the good mixture of combat missions inside the event TB, which you can spend quite a bit of time on. And going to be honest with you, I like the minigames they added to this event. The creep of the Necro Dance gameplay, testing your flicking game, and putting the orange button on the orange hole type of puzzle. I love these types of minigames. It feels immersive and has just the right amount of balance between fights and TV gameplay that it doesn't feel stale. So the story, I cannot really comment on this because I'm going to be honest with you, with story events, I just can't help myself to not pay attention because I know it's like a side thing and it will be removed in the next patch, and I feel like I did not really miss anything major that will be hinted something in the later patches, though if there is, leave them in the comments down below. But the basic grasp of what I remembered is Belle and Weiss attempting to get a vacation, but they had to get some boxes and stop some of the corrupted machines in the sub-hollow called C41, which might affect the normal citizens of Eridu, and that cost Weiss and Belle's vacation. But we got a celebration with text and a black background. Not gonna lie, I wish they should have like made a single illustration just showing the characters celebrating and messing around. Also, I want to note that the OST for the fight and the main hub area of the 6th Street are just stuck in my head. I mean, I'm playing it right now. I like its chill vibes, but also having that celebratory feel to it. Up next is the daily life of a pub sex officer, which is just a dumbed down version of Papers, Please. Now this event is pretty easy. I feel like if you just read the basic instructions in the beginning and the highlighted yellow text on the text bubbles, you'll do fine. Another point is that I like the OST with this event. I was expecting something like electronic jazzy music since it's like Papers, Please, but you're not in a life-threatening situation. I don't mind the energetic groovy music. I think it does its job for making the whole gameplay, aka just reading and using your basic reading comprehension, which is the hardest endgame boss of a gacha player, literally just reading. Though I like how they use this event as an opportunity to show Bernice and Caesar, teasing them for the next patch version. I hope they keep doing this with these small events that shows the upcoming characters and getting a glimpse of what their life is. In the case of Bernice and Caesar, we are 100% going to the Outer Ring, which is like Mad Max, Borderlands kind of setting that we are going to see in the next patch. So I can't wait for that. Second to the last, the immersive drill event. If you play Genshin or HSR, this will be pretty similar to their usual combat events, giving you some trial characters to try and mess around with. For me, this is just nothing new, man. It's pretty aight, the rewards are pretty nice, and we get to try out some characters we didn't get for new players. This will be fun since, again, trying out new characters you don't have and seeing how their teams function and stuff like that. I don't have anything more to say, so yeah, let's move on to the last one, which is Scene 1 Shot 1. Probably the easiest and most boring event in my opinion. It's literally just using the camera, so if you manifest your inner photographer, I think you'll enjoy this event. I've done this type of event in Genshin so many times, it's stale for me. But speaking of cameras, I love the new camera selfie feature, especially with me choosing Belle. Ugh, why is she so freaking cute, man. They should add more poses and make the camera movement a little bit less clunky and slow, but that's just me. So the new endgame modes, Inferno Reap and the new Shiyu Defense Special Operation. Inferno Reap is such a fun game mode, just to flex your big PP damage per screenshot. With the dual resonums, you can get insane freaking builds and combinations that even a DPS Lucy will hit like a freaking truck. So the resonums are taken from a single run you do in the nest. It doesn't matter what difficulty you chose, as long as it's the specific stage, you can transfer the resonums to the Inferno Reap, and I don't think there's any limit to it. You can maybe make infinite builds, but I don't think any sane person will do that. So I want more stuff like this. I don't know if they're going to make like a resettable rotating event. Maybe sometime in the future they're going to make a new and better Inferno Reap kind of gameplay, so I can't wait to see what the devs are cooking. And finally, the new Shiyu defense, and thank god this is one challenging Shiyu defense. No time limit, it's just you having to survive, kill the enemies, and basically forcing you to dodge a lot and put your ZZZ skills to the test. I like it. I hope they make it like a bi-weekly reset, the normal Shiyu defense, and maybe, just maybe, if you dream a lot, maybe that's why Caesar is a defense unit character. But I mean, you can just dodge and use your skills if you're a proclaimed god gamer. So yeah, I want an expansion of this, make it resettable, which means more polychrome incomes for our polls. So yeah, I think I covered most of the things in this patch. Overall, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's some good parts and there's some boring and stale parts. You can say this is basically a filler patch, because in the next patch we're basically getting the Outer Ring, continuation of the story, which is like chapter 4, and a bunch of new characters, new locations, and new freaking boss mobs. Like holy, these are actually interesting. Anyways, it introduced some new game modes and some phenomenal characters that changed everything. Some unique and fun stale events are included in this patch, and hopefully next patch we can use our waifus and husbandos in the overworld. I want to walk as Jane and see that amazing jiggle physics on her ass. We need party options because it's a pain in the ass to just have one menu selection. Obviously make it easy to fast forward the time in game, and obviously they said this in the tweet months ago, so I pray they come now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Subscribe so I can stay in the basement, like for the algorithm, and comment down below. Was this patch fun? Did you pull for any characters, or maybe you're just saving for Miyabi, Bernice, Caesar? Did you have time to do all these events and try them out? And in the new game mode, did you get your ass whooped? So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Bye!